Welcome to SolidCross. Today we are going to focus on our fourth and final pillar of dialectical behavior therapy. I've really enjoyed this, talking through the 4 pillars and the steps that you can help you with self-talk. Basically, I have to use it better with myself, honestly. So we talked about mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and today we're talking about interpersonal effectiveness. Basically what this means is how we're going to handle situations with other people, how we're going to be able to talk to other people in the right way, how to get what we're looking for, and stuff like that. In fact, when I was in one of these classes, the lady had said that she is always able to get what she wants all the time, by just using these methods and steps. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that sounds pretty cool, to get anybody to do what they want. So we're going to go over them, and I hope you enjoy it. Interpersonal effectiveness refers to skills which help us to attend relationships, balance priorities and versus demands. So what should we do versus what does somebody tell us we should do? Balance the wants and the shoulds. What should I do? What do I want to do? Build a sense of mastery and self-respect. So being able to manage ourselves over time and how we handle other people. In order to increase our effectiveness in dealing with other people, we need to clarify what we want. When we're talking to the other person. What's our objective? What are we trying to gain? And identify what we need to do in order to gain what we are looking for, completing our objective. So the first thing we're going to look at when we're talking about gaining our objective is a acronym called Dear Man. And it goes like this. The first is the D. It describes the current situation. So say, hey, this is what's going on. E is express your feelings and opinions. I really think this because of this and that because of that. Assert yourself by asking for what you want or by saying no. So I would like, or I do not want to replace with whatever you're talking about. Reward the person. Let them know that they will get let them know what they will get out of it. What are they going to gain from this? Be mindful of objectives without distraction. They call it the broken record technique. We'll go over that later. It's ignoring attacks. It's just, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. You don't deviate from that mindset. Appear effective and competent. Even if you don't feel that way, you're supposed to, role play, and that they call, use your acting skills, as I like to call it. It's appear to them, you're going to get the job done, even if you don't feel like you want to do it. Just to get, yep, I'll get that job done. And then in the end, you're going to get it done. And negotiate alternative solutions. So, what's another way that you could achieve your goal? What's another way that I can help you achieve your goal? Is it better to do it my way than your way? But talk about it in a polite and respectful way. And in the end, the best situation will arise out of that dialogue. So then we're going to go something called the he relationship. And how important is this relationship for me? What do I want this person to feel about me after this interaction? And what do I need to do in order to keep this relationship? So this is dealing with another person, and you're balancing the pros and cons of what you really need to tell them and how you need to tell them versus how important are they if they do get a little upset. But you're trying to manage the situation so you don't upset them. A lot of this sounds completely complex. But as I get later and later into what we're going to talk about, you'll understand some of the techniques to both of you walk away happy at the same time with the objective complete or going to be completed that you had in mind. So the he relationship is really going to radiate from what the other things that we're learning here, and that's when it's, how important is this relationship to me? Every relationship I have is extremely important. But what they're trying to ask is, if this person is asking you to do something uncomfortable, how important is that relationship to you to fix the sense of what they want to do if it's right or wrong, or say, you know what, we're going to have to be done with this because that is too absurd. So now we're going to do something called keeping the relationship, and that has an acronym called GIVE. So if you want to keep this relationship with this person that you know asked you something uncomfortable or stuff like that, the G stands for gentle manner without attack or threat. So are you sure you want to do that? You know, maybe we should look at a different way instead of going, no, wait, you're stupid, you know, get out of here. We want to be gentle about it. Show interest in the other. Show interest in what they're talking about. It's like, man, you really think you want to do that? What are some other ways that we can do that? Don't appear like you're a blank chalkboard that they're just talking to. Show interest and give emotion to what they're saying. Even if you disagree with it, you need to be able to work this out in a proper way. Validate the other person without judging them. So, you know, I understand what you're saying. Let's work through this. Instead of, are you crazy? No, we're not going to do this. Be able to let them know that you're listening and accepting what they're saying, even though you might not agree with it. And then E is easy manner with little humor. Always add a little humor to every situation that may be uncomfortable, because it's always going to lighten things up. You know, so if they're asking something really uncomfortable, you know, say something funny. Anything funny that comes to mind that's still respectful at the same time. Like, you know, really? How'd that go for the last person that tried that? Something like that, you know, something funny. Just break the ice a little bit. And that's what when somebody's asking you an uncomfortable question, that the give technique, you want to keep this relationship without hurting their feelings, basically. Then we have the self-respect portion of the relationship, and that is, what do I want to feel about myself after this interaction? Do I want to feel, we all want to feel good about ourselves, but we want to think about this beforehand so we can determine how you want to approach the conversation with this person that you're trying to deal with. And what do I have to do in order to feel that way about myself? So what am I going to have to say to this person to be able to feel confident, happy, joyous, and satisfied with the decisions that I make? You're going to have to think ahead of time. If I have to say no to this person, that will make me feel better in the end, I'm going to have to be prepared to say no. And this is keeping to your self-respect. There's an acronym for that, and it's called FAST. And the F stands for fair to myself and others. I'm being fair to myself, and I'm being fair to you. I'm not giving everything to you and leaving nothing for me. No apologies for being alive. The A is the apologies. So you're not going to apologize for, you know, for being able to be in existence in a positive way. Both of you are bringing the same benefit to society if you're able to contribute what you have. So don't undervalue that. And that's the next one. Stick to values. Do not do anything you will regret later. If you're in a situation and let's say somebody is asking you, let's say you're a teenager and they're asking you to go drink, and you value this friendship, and this is a very good friend, and they all of a sudden bring this out of the blue. Oh, you want to keep the relationship. You don't want to frustrate them. You love them, but you have to say no. And that's where this sticking to the values, because if you do that, you might regret it later. Not only because you'll mentally feel guilty about yourself, but because something bad could actually happen. So think of this beforehand. And then you'll realize that the potential upsetness, if that's a word you have with the person, is that as bad as what could have potentially happened to you if you would have gotten caught drinking? These are all pros and cons to win your mind. And then be truthful without excuses or exaggeration. I'm awful at this. In the sense that, you know, no, I can't go because my dog died, my grandma was hit by a car, and a bus rolled over on my street. Okay, nobody's really going to believe that in the end, even though it may sound funny. Just say, no, I don't want to go because I don't feel comfortable with it. Don't give excuses on why you can't go. This is probably the worst thing I am awful at, because I always feel so guilty about saying no that I'll say, no, this happened, and I can't go. And I got to work on that. But especially in extremely stressful situations, you know, or something like that, don't give excuses on why you don't, because they might think it might validate their idea on it being right or wrong. Just you say no because I have to do this might make them think, okay, well, he'll come drink with me next time. You have to say no and explain why you're saying no. That's very important. We have to notice what we're thinking, and then we're going to act on those emotions, and that's what best is going to help us make the right decision in these situations. And this is important. When you communicate with other people, it helps to keep in mind not only what you are experiencing, but what they are experiencing, the thoughts, the feelings, the behaviors. But also, also how the people are going to react to it. Because you believe that somebody, this is so important for society as a whole. Just because you believe they are thinking something, maybe about you, that doesn't necessarily make it true. Our minds are continually trying to make sense of the world, but our minds do not always get it right. We are not always right, and man, it's hard to accept that. So if they are thinking something about you, and you know that they're thinking this, that doesn't mean that they're right. So don't take that completely to heart. Analyze the situation, think about it yourself, and realize that not everything that you want to make sense right away always will make sense right away. It takes time because we have to learn how to effectively deal with all relationships by taking out immediate emotion. If we can do that, if we can act without we got to give ourselves that second of pause to be able to gather ourselves and think about what we want to say, because in the end, you will always be so much happier. It's easy to get things wrong and misunderstand what the other person is saying. We tend to react to what we think they are thinking or mean. They react to what they think we are thinking and it means, and so goes on. People don't react to what people are really thinking. They're a perception of what they think they are thinking is what they react on. So it is so crucial to establish a clear dialogue in asking the right questions to get the direct answers, so you are sure of what they are thinking and they are sure of what you are thinking, so there's no misconceptions at the end, so you don't leave a conversation thinking that this person hates me because I did this when they may not be thinking that way. Establish clear dialogue and come to an understanding of what really is happening, not what you think is happening with the other person. When we hear others being critical of something we've done, we tend to believe that they are being critical of us rather than their actions. People are generally always critical of actions first, and then they come to person in mind. So, and that's hard to believe because everybody thinks, oh, that person just hates me. That person just hates me, so he's going to be mad at me no matter what I do. That's not the way emotions work. The thoughtfulness of the action that is going on is what is going to be identified first. If somebody, this is a horrible analogy, but if somebody kills somebody in a drunk driving crash, the first thing they're thinking about is how bad the crash is what killed the person from being drunk, and then they'll go to the person that they think, well, who was drunk behind the wheel? The situation that happens always is thought of first before it's of the person that did it. So certain reactions and situations are usually have stigmas upon them other than the person that did it, because we are taught what is right and wrong. That's deep. It's hard to grasp, but just follow along the best you can. Very often the person criticizing is intending the criticism to be helpful of us. So we have to think that in some of these situations. A lot of times we don't like somebody or don't like something somebody said and we're mad. A lot of the times they're trying to help us not to do it again instead of hating us. And that is so hard to think or believe. But try to take it as a positive criticism to learn from it instead of thinking that person hates me, so I hate them, because that's not the way it works. If we are able to accept the criticism in the spirit in which it was intended, then maybe we could make positive, helpful changes. Oh, so big. So now I'm going to get through, there's a few of these like drawings and cartoons. And it's how responding to a situation, how it can be and what we should do. And so let's say somebody says, that was okay, but it might have been better if you had. The passive answer would be, I'm so sorry, you're right, it's all my fault, I'm so stupid and useless. You just put all the blame back on yourself, even if it wasn't. The passive aggressive answer will be, sorry, And then you think to yourself, it's not my fault. I'll get back to you later. The aggressive answer could be, what? You can talk. How dare you blame me? It's all your fault. And I'll show this little cartoon to the screen here. And it's interesting when you can completely understand the dynamic of what's going on and how you would answer, because every one of these styles that somebody will portray is a different person's personality. Not one person is going to use all three of these in different situations. A person that uses passive aggressive will use that in every situation. A person that uses the passive and puts the blame all on themselves to make the other person happy will always use that in every situation. And the aggressive person will always be aggressive in every situation. These are not These three kinds of reactions are not shared throughout all humans the same way. It all depends on our makeup and build, and that's fascinating to me. What makes somebody tick differently than another person? Especially when it comes to responding to situations and emotions. And that's fascinating, because God made us all different. We're not just some cookie cutter prototype. And when you can figure yourself out, it's so much fun. If we were able to consider the criticism in a different way, then maybe something positive can come out of it. When you receive criticism, consider whether the criticism is true, whether it's not true, or partly true, and can we respond in a more helpful way to the person that is criticizing us? Instead of going, you're the one to talk, you do stupid stuff all the time, dude. No, go, yeah, you know what, I think you're right. I'm going to have to be more careful of that. We should all be more careful about that. Thank you for bringing that up. That completely diffuses the situation. You can't be mad with that answer. They can't be frustrated at that answer. If they are, they have the problem. It's interesting on how the interactions we have with other people can affect not only their moods, but our moods. And that's why the fourth pillar of DBT, which is this, is so deep, complex, and it expands so much, because what are we going to do to handle our feelings with other people? The other three are the inner. The inner, how are we going to deal with things ourselves? This is how we're dealing with things with other people. So the broadness and the large variety of what is look over in this topic is massive. I'm just going over just a few, and this is going to take a while. But it's unbelievable. So if the criticism is true, yes, I can be like that sometimes. How has that affected you? What would have been a more helpful way of doing things? I'm sorry if it upset you. Okay? Great way to answer. Yeah, I screwed up. What can I do something better? What can I do better next time to not upset you and potentially hurt myself? The criticism is not true. You disagree. I disagree. I don't think that's right. And I feel a bit upset that you can say that. Can you explain what you mean a bit more? Say that in a pretty calm voice. Why do you say that? I don't feel that way. What do you mean? Let's get to the bottom of this and feel what you mean. And at the end, you can both work out the situation. Now, majority of us, when we're criticized, go, no, get out of here. You're the one that's the problem, and say some words we wish we didn't say. And then if the criticism is partly true, and the partly agree statement is, I accept that I didn't do well. I made a mistake, but I disagree with your comments about me personally. Can you explain what you mean a bit more? So yes, I made a mistake, but what you're criticizing me for is way far off compared to what actually happened. So let's talk about this and work it out. It can very often be difficult to say no to people who make demands of us. And if we say no, we can get caught in the self-critical thoughts leading us to feel guilty. To avoid feeling guilty, we just keep on saying yes to every request. Oh my gosh, saying no in life. I'm the worst. My dad may be worse, but I'm the worst. I cannot say no to a person. I feel so guilty. And I have some sort of self-esteem issue where I think that they won't like me if I don't say yes to them. And that's wrong. I have to accept that people are going to like me for who I am instead of what I do for them. And it's so hard to learn how to say no correctly, or just say no. Sometimes no and walking away is the proper thing to do. And it's not easy for any of us to do. All of us feel guilty in all situations and want to help this person even if it's not beneficial to us. And that's why learning about interpersonal effectiveness is so beneficial for everybody. Not even those that are struggling, with some sort of anxiety or depression or stuff like that. It's a very helpful skill for anybody, especially those who want to run companies or, become president. You have to learn to deal with so many people at different times that it's stunning. So here's the what they call the circle of guilt. It'll say, I feel guilty if I say no. And then I will feel resentful, tired, and used. Let me explain this a little better. I feel guilty if I say no. Then the circle will go to if I agree, I say yes. If I say yes, I will feel resentful, tired, and used. If I say no in the wrong situation, I will feel resentful, tired, and used. If I say yes in the right situation, I will not feel resentful, tired, and used, and I will not feel guilty. Oh, you have to understand this chart on a more, more depth. But it's the circle of what saying no and what saying yes is, and the interactions that can come back and forth depending on if the situation is a good situation or bad situation. We can learn ways of saying no that don't lead us to think self-critically or guilty. For example, I'm sorry, but I really can't take on anything else at the moment. If you're extremely busy, without making excuses, without saying that because you just don't want to, you have other things going on. So say you have other things going on. I'm quite busy right now. Perhaps another time. It'll invite them to ask questions in a different later, but it also lets them know that you are busy at the moment. I'd like to help you out, but I just don't feel up to it at the moment. That's probably the hardest one to say because not a lot of us want to admit that we are down, or not necessarily down, but I just don't feel like doing that. And that's okay, especially if it's not going to benefit you at all. Sometimes that's okay. Learn to say no. If you become a people pleaser, they will use you. Even the greatest people in the world will continue to use you over and over and over because you keep helping them achieve their goals, and they don't focus on any of your own goals because you don't show any. So then you become like, the paper pusher or something like that. Thank you for asking me. You're a nice person, but I don't want to go out with you. Tonight I just don't feel like it. Or, you know what? We were friends. You tried to ask me out on a date. I'm not feeling it, man. I'm sorry. That's hard to do, but that's the proper way to say it, too. And I don't need a new roof, double glazing on a donut or a vacuum cleaner. I'm happy with what I have, thank you. So if somebody is asking, a salesman comes to the door, I have what I need. I'm happy. No, my mom would always say this to me when I was younger, and I still have a hard grasp on it. No means no. No means no, no means no, means no, means no, means no. That song was sung to me all the time. Oh, luckily I was blessed enough to get yes quite a bit. But if the person seems to have trouble accepting your no, then just keep repeating yourself over and over. That's the broken record technique. No, no, no. This is why no. This is why no. This is why no. And eventually they're going to just leave you alone. You might have to add the word no to the beginning of those statements, perhaps with some emphasis on the word. For example, no, I'm sorry, but I really can't at the moment. They have to know what you are feeling. They have to know that you want to say no. 2 different verb forms of no. Be wary of those self-critical thoughts afterwards. Practice challenging and or dismissing them by telling yourself, I explained to them why I couldn't do it. There was nothing left hidden. It's not my responsibility to help them do that. I have other things to take care of. It would end up only upsetting me if I agreed to it. This is best for me. If I feel less tired and not resentful, then I might be a better position to help them out next time. What's best for you at the moment? They're just thoughts. I don't need to pay them any attention. Then put your focus on the attention of something else. If you were feeling bad about saying no to somebody, even though it was beneficial for you, realize that. Just think of that way. It'll pass. Use the mindfulness. And then we need to learn how to tell others what we want. When we want something, we use all sorts of messages to try to let others know, such as hints, expressions, and gestures, hidden meanings in what we say all the time. But the only way to ensure that someone has really understood what you want is to be clear in what you say. I would like you to give me a hug. I want to be your friend, but not your girlfriend. I want to talk to someone. I'd like to leave now. It may not always be possible to get what we want or feel we need, perhaps because that would impact on other people. Having said what you'd like, then we need to consider the response according to the rights of the other person too. It's often possible to compromise which can respect the rights of all those involved. Trying to send messages hinting on something like we talked about earlier, this can be totally summarized in high school kids. And I want to be your friend but not your girlfriend. Somebody in a text message, because text messages are so wonderful, there's no emotion whatsoever, so you can't understand what other people's feeling. So don't ask serious things over social media or texting. You want to see their reactions. You want to know how they feel. I just want to be your friend. But you don't say, I don't want to be your girlfriend or boyfriend. That's going to keep them thinking that maybe one day they will be my girlfriend or boyfriend. You can't just say, I just want to be friends. You have to add on, be specific, and it may hurt the feelings of the other person for a second, but it will keep all of you happy in the long run. This is interpersonal effectiveness. How we deal with the situations that arise with us with other people, what they're asking us to do, what they want us to do, and what we want them to do, and how we can respond to them respectfully and answer them properly for our well-being and their well-being as well. And it's a hard skill to master because relationships are so often based on emotions. Many of us will say what we think right away, especially to somebody that we love and we're extremely close with. There's no filter, and sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes that's a bad thing. So remember these 4 pillars of DBT. I'm going to do, the next video I'm going to do is going to be kind of summarizing them all and using them all together. But again, mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, those are all inward thoughts and skills to practice. The interpersonal effectiveness you practice, but it's also with dealing with other people. I hope you like this video today. I'm sorry a little bit for the length, but it's really important that we get everything covered. And look forward to the next video where I'm going to go over everything as a whole, and stay solid.